Hi guys, this is Fred from Personal Time Outdoors. This video is going to be the debrief video for my Burr Oak State Park camping video. If you haven't seen that one yet, I'm going to link to it at the end of this one, so please be sure to check that out. This is going to be a really quick debrief. The trip we took there was very simple and straightforward, so I don't really have a ton of information to share with you, but I do have a few tips and pointers that I will share. The purpose of our trip was more or less just to test some gear and to see the fall colors, so there wasn't any really heavy-duty backpacking or anything like that involved with this one. I'll go over what we did there, but there are other videos on YouTube with more info on Burr Oak, so if you are going to take a backpacking trip there, or if you want to do a more elaborate camp out, you might want to check those out before you go. What you see on the screen here is a map of Burr Oak State Park and the surrounding area. The campground we stayed at is called Burr Oak Cove, and it's actually located in this area here. I'm going to zoom in here so we can take a better look. Now, Burr Oak Cove Campground is actually in Wayne National Forest as opposed to Burr Oak State Park. The dividing border between the National Forest and the State Park is somewhere in this area here. So it's really close by, and as you can see, they have this trail here that leads you down to Burr Oak Lake. The entrance to Burr Oak Cove is off of Route 107 here, which is also called Burr Oak Road. It has 19 campsites, and at the time that we were there, the cost per night was $15 to camp. And they have a little self-registration kiosk that I showed you in the video, where you take out an envelope, put your money in, and deposit it to pay for the campground. Now, these campsites are on a first-come, first-served basis. There's no way to reserve them ahead of time, so your only option is just to show up there and see what's available, pick a campsite, and then fill out the registration form, and you're good to go. There are 4 sites there that are walk-in sites, so if you are backpacking, those are something that you might want to utilize. None of the sites have electricity. But there are several water stations, and water is available there seasonally. I was there towards the end of October, and they did still have the water turned on, but I imagine at some point, as the weather gets colder, they would turn that off. Now, we took our own water with us, so I didn't actually drink the water from the water stations, but I did see several other campers there, and they were drinking it and using it, so it seems to me that it must be fine. Now, they do have several vault-style latrines there, and they were pretty nice. I mean, as latrines go in a national forest campground, they were fairly clean. It looked like they did maintain them, and it looks like they're relatively new. That they didn't look like they were very old or beat up or anything like that. Now, the trail that I mentioned that takes you down to the lake is, as I said, in this section here. And as I mentioned in the video, this trail is very poorly marked. Now, we were there in the fall, so there were a lot of leaves on the ground. Perhaps in the summertime when there's less leaves, it might be easier to follow. But regardless, I would definitely recommend taking a GPS with you or having a GPS app on your phone when you're taking that hike, because in my experience, it was a little bit easy to get knocked off trail. Now, what we did is when we came down the trail, we mainly just kind of hiked around this area of the lake. We took a little bit of a walk down in this direction. Then we decided that we wanted to go over by the dam, so we turned around, hiked back up the trail this way, and we probably got down to somewhere in this area here. It was getting later in the afternoon, and with that trail being kind of hard to follow, I didn't want to take a chance on us trying to get back after the sunset, so we kind of turned around and headed back to camp after that point. Now, there is a backpacking trail. Let me zoom back out here a little bit, that goes the entire way around the lake, as you can see. And it is over 20 miles, so it's probably something that you'd probably want to split up over at least a couple days. As I mentioned, we did not take that entire trail, so I really don't have a whole lot to comment about it. But Jason Wish does have a pretty good video on his channel about it, about backpacking this trail, so I'll link to his video at the end of this one too, so definitely check that out. He also utilizes Burr Oak Cove Campground during his trip, so I think that's a really good idea, because from what I could see, the campground or the camping areas in the park itself weren't as nice as Burr Oak Cove. So I think it was a good idea on his part to fit that in and use that campground as a place to stop for one of his nights. In addition to Jason's video, there are some other videos that are on YouTube as well. So if you are going to backpack, I would definitely check all those out before you go. Now, after we did leave the campground, we decided that we were going to take a little time and we were going to drive around and check out some of the other amenities in the state park. We kind of drove around this area here and we checked out the lodge, which is in this area here, as well as Boat Dock 2, which is down here towards the bottom of the map. I did look at the camping area at Boat Dock 2, and let me just say I wasn't really impressed with it. It's not someplace that I would probably enjoy camping. You might have a different feeling about it, but it was pretty basic and just kind of a little drive-in area off of the main road where there were a few campsites and fire rings, and not a lot of scenery. I mean, you basically were looking out at the marina. So, check it out if you're interested, but in my opinion, Burr Oak Cove was much nicer. In addition to Boat Dock 2, you can also camp here at Dock number 3, and also there is a main campground. I didn't visit either one of those, so I really don't have anything that I can really add about those. Again, there are some videos on YouTube about those two camping areas, and in Jason's video, he does stay here at Dock 3, and based on the little glimpses that I could see in his video, it does look like it is a little bit nicer than Dock 2. But again, that's more anecdotal than anything. Now, it's important to note that unlike Burr Oak Cove, if you are going to camp in the state park at any of these locations, you do have to reserve the campsites. And based on what I could find, all of the reservations are done online. There is some conflicting info online. From what I could see, it looks like in the past, you could do a walk-up registration for Dock 2 and Dock 3, but from what I gather, it looks like they've ended that practice now. So all of the camping reservations must be done online as far as I could tell. Now, as I mentioned, we did visit the state lodge. Basically, all we did is we parked and we walked inside the lobby and took a look around. And from what I could see, it looks really nice. Now, I've stayed at other Ohio State Park lodges, and I've always had a really good experience, so I have no reason to believe that it would be any different at this lodge as well. That was about the extent of our trip, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Now, if you have any questions about Burr Oak State Park or Burr Oak Cove Campground, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching today, and if you found this helpful, please consider liking and subscribing.